Back on the couch for another video. This one's gonna be a little bit different. I wanted to dive into the things throughout 2020 that were really a challenge for me. And I think over the course of the last 2 weeks after the season has ended, I've had some long conversations with my coaches, long conversations with Jeannie, with my family, just trying to debrief, try to think, try to analyze and understand the things. We've already discussed the things that were really positive of 2020, and I would say the majority of the discussions sort of started there. But I think in order to get better, you've got to really look yourself in the mirror and say, what do I need to do in order to be better? And in order to do that, you've got to sort of face the things that were not as successful. So I think the number one root of the one issue that I sort of ran into in 2020 was the fact that I was so positive. And that might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but I'll explain what I mean. So throughout the year, like I mentioned, I had all of these lines in the sand that continuously just burst barriers down. I knocked out a personal best 5K. I was setting best powers in the virtual racing. I was nailing, PBs in my 9-mile time trials, and I was just continuously nailing all my training, just ticking all the boxes green in Training Peaks, and just sort of nailing everything. And the issue with that was it self-perpetuated a level of confidence that I don't think I've ever had in training before, because you constantly have these benchmarks of racing that sort of set you back in your place. You think you're improving, you go to a race, you either prove to yourself that you're on the right track, or it doesn't necessarily go the way that you thought and brings you back to reality and what you need to work on. So without those races, my confidence just built and built and built and built. All the way through when we got back to racing in October, smash out something like Bear Lake, get a podium, go right from there and have a race in Huntington that is arguably the best triathlon of my career. And so I have all this built up confidence, and particularly training with guys like Matt Hansen and Tim O'Donnell, swimming with Lauren Brandon in the pool, and just having these opportunities where I'm feeling great in training, and that brought my level of expectation too high. And I think I confused personal development with world-class development. And I think what I've realized now, particularly after the championship, is that I'm not there yet. And I think that's an important thing for me to realize. And I think potentially in the past, I've tricked myself into thinking that I'm maybe better than I am, or further along in my career than I am. And I think that comes from a place of me wanting to be there so badly and being so impatient with it that I just sort of think, oh, magically in 6 months you're there. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not quite where I need to be yet. Have I made great progress? 100%. And I think the number one piece is that I haven't figured out a way to replicate the consistency of my highest level racing over and over again. So I can have a one-off performance at something like Huntington, but I'm not in a place in my career yet where I can back that up at the Great Floridian, at the PTO Championships, and also do it on the biggest stage. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for me when it comes to analyzing what 2020 was about, and something that I probably didn't think enough about was exactly the point I'm talking about here, is just having my expectations a little bit more in check. And of course, the biggest disappointment of the year was the PTO Championship, but reflecting back on it, I think, of course, that was what was going to happen. That's reflecting on the race itself, that's not a big surprise to me. I think moving forward, a big step for me is going to be legitimately looking myself in the mirror and saying, what is the expectations? Trying to under-promise and over-deliver, and not set yourself up for failure. I think in my mind, I had somehow tricked myself that, if you can replicate what you did in Huntington, that's going to place you in the top 10. And potentially that's the case, but am I in a place where I can replicate that day over and over and over again in a season? Definitely not. So I really had to say to myself, hey, look, here's the expectations. Let's bring it down two notches below what my best ever race was, and expect that. If you're one notch above, great. If you're 2 notches above, wow, you're really gonna have a race that is exceptional. But when you have the expectation so high in the beginning portions of the race, it doesn't necessarily go the way you want. It really sets the tone for the remainder of the day. Something like the PTO Championship in Daytona, I was having an off day physically, but I think I was definitely having an off day mentally as well. So moving forward, I think it's important for me to find that mental, physical balance. This sport takes every piece of your mind, body, and spirit to get right. So moving forward, I think it's just important for me to recognize that and just try and be a little bit more patient. Understand that my trajectory isn't going to be the same as some of the other mid-20-year-old guys around me. So I've just got to be persistent. I've got to be patient. I've got to continue to work. I've got to continue to trust my coaches, trust my team. And those are all things that I'm here to do. I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm committed to this. I believe I'm going to get there. It might just take a little bit more time than the other guys around me, and that's all right. So thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate all of the support and love before these races, after the races. Really means the world to me. Like and subscribe. We're going to be pushing out more content as we dive into 2021, and stick around for the next video where I'm going to talk about a little bit of what I'm looking forward to next year. So thank you so much, and peace.